won't psychoanalyze it. We'll just say,
so
engagement and ring is in the vicinity.
So
I'm psychic. It's gonna come through. Like
nothing's getting by this bitch.
You can't plan a secret without me. I'm gonna know. All right. Welcome into another episode of the Unhinged Out of Our Minds podcast. We are your hosts, Nikki and Bella. I'm feeling good today because my dog is asleep in another room.
Slay.
And that is rare. It's rare because she normally is, this is how you know. When she passes out and doesn't even bother changing rooms, it's a win.
Where is she sleeping?
It's a win. She's sleeping in our bed.
Nice.
She did follow me there when I went to the bathroom, and then she never came out. I mean, the door's open door policy. It's fine if she wants to come back, but I'm like a mom that's like, the baby's asleep. I have some free time. We're good. Anyway, guys, thanks for being here. Welcome in. This is the unhinged edition of our podcast. These types of episodes that we do that are, fucking unhinged. So the plan for today is to check in on how we're doing. I literally almost just called you Matcha.
We're
Nikki
so
has
excited
something-
to talk about fucking matcha today.
Yeah, the unhinged are actually just an excuse to talk about matcha the entire time.
Loves.
I would do that. Our true loves. Nikki has an update somehow apparently related to matcha, and then that'll be our little unhinged check-in. We'll also see what is the most unhinged thing going on in our lives, because we want to keep it real. We're not perfect, so we're like, hey, check out our unhinged corner of life over here. So that's something that's gonna happen. And then we'll share our latest spiritual lesson that has come through for us. And then we'll do a little rabbit hole. Nikki has something for us to dive into, apparently, of like an interesting theory. So let's kick it off. What's your matcha update?
Oh, well, I was just telling you before we hopped on here that you literally turned me into a fucking matcha snob. Also, I'm going to stop cursing from here on out. No more cursing.
Good luck.
Okay, thank you. But I knew I was traveling and I literally ordered matcha to my parents' house so that I could have it in New York. And I've been making my own matcha in the morning, and there's a coffee shop right across the street, but the matcha is too sweet. And I literally feel like I'm you, because I used to drink matcha from anywhere. Like I would order it from Starbucks, and now I cannot even stomach it. I actually did have one of these matchas from the coffee shop yesterday, but still it's like too sweet. And I honestly think it's the milk, because we're so used to drinking milk that doesn't have seed oils in it and added sugar, that when you drink almond milk or whatever kind of milk that you drink and it has added anything in it, it tastes like melted ice cream.
Yeah, it's gross.
Which some people love. I used to love that, but then I started drinking it the other way, and I'm like, oh, this is actually it feels like nourishing for my body. It doesn't feel like a treat where I'm feeling like shit after. So I'm an official matcha snob. I'll be bringing my matcha everywhere I go. I brought my bowl. I brought my freaking strainer. I did forget my whisk, so I had to order another one, which I'm actually happy about, because
this is how you know.
Yes,
this is how you know.
No,
when
fully
you
converted.
Either order, it's like if you have people's houses, like family or friend that you go to often, when you start either buying them a kit so that you can use it when you go to their house, or bringing your own supplies, that's when you know you're officially a matcha snob. And yes, it's also that's the thing with the cafe milks, is either they have a lot of sweetener in them, or you can I personally can taste the seed oils.
Yes,
I think
it's
I can I feel them coating my throat.
Yes. I know exactly what you mean.
I swear that's how it feels. And you're like, okay, this is, it it fucks up the whole experience. Like it does not taste as good. And yeah, I think also when you the thing that was tough for you, this was hard, this was your journey, was you started with matcha in a blasphemous way where it was so sweet and that you thought that that was normal.
Right.
You thought that that was all there was for you. And then somebody came along, a wonderful matcha spiritual teacher came along and showed
My
you
matcha guru.
Your matcha guru came along and said, no, don't worry. I know this is all you think there is for you. This is all that's possible. Let me show you the way.
Which if you
And I
guys
showed
want
you-
a matcha recipe by Bella, go watch the Sedona vlog. Wait, no, it's not Sedona. It's the Texas one.
Yes, the Texas vlog.
Yeah, you can even
Yes,
like
it
scrub
has
the video
all the
until you get to the
instructions.
actual part of that. But there's a full on like 5-minute part of that vlog of you sharing your matcha recipe.
Yes. Yeah. So point is, you've had your matcha awakening. Welcome. Your ego resisted it first. Sometimes it happens. You
Right,
know, you
right.
see the new way of being.
You're so
Sometimes you
identified
resist the
with
new
the old-
belief. Oh, it's like, come on, this is all I know, and it's really good. And it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
It's hurting you. You're like, no, I like it. And then you just adapt, and then you're like, oh wait, this is much better. And that's what it is to have pure matcha that tastes like grass, and you love it.
I feel like that's honestly, I have two things that I want to talk about from this. One is seed oils, which table that for a second. I have something else that I want to say. What you just said about you adapt is so true because I have been really changing like my eating habits lately, and I've just been like way more intuitive with my body and what it needs. And it's so wild because you'll look at people and like what they're eating and be like, damn, I could never. I love eating this, this, and this. But when you just switch over to a new way of being that actually feels good to your body, I'm not saying like restriction, like even being in New York, I'm still like eating my ice cream and doing my thing and getting bagels. But there's this like overall shift in the way that I now perceive the way I nourish myself that has now become my new way of being. And you just adapt so quickly. Like your body adapts quickly, your taste buds adapt quickly, and something that you thought you could like never go a day without, you just don't even think about anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it also really just proves like why for any person or for every person, like a different diet and lifestyle and thing, like anything can work as long as you feel aligned with it and you also have the belief behind it.
Right.
Like that's it.
That's literally it.
And like it's that simple. So yeah, it's like as soon as you also this is why it's so great to let yourself do a reset, you know, of like
Yes.
trying something different, because then you'll also immediately know if it is actually better than your baseline or not, and then it all becomes more neutral.
100%. And then the other thing with seed oils, I'm back in New York right now and I've been hanging out with family and extended family. And there was a member of my extended family that was over the other day. And he's like an older man. And he was talking about how he uses canola oil butter in the morning every day. And we were like, you know, that's...
Wait, so this is like not real butter? It's like vegetable oil butter?
Yeah, something like that. And Peter and I were dumbfounded and we were like, you know, that's so bad for you. And he's like, what are you talking about? I thought canola oil was healthy.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Well, do you remember, you know, the brand I Can't Believe It's Not Butter?
Is that just canola oil? Vegetable oil?
It's like some form of vegetable oils, like solidified,
Oh boy.
I think. And I remember like we had that at my house growing up because that's like what it was trending, and we were like convinced that it was heart healthy.
Right.
And yeah, now people are like, okay, this is maybe not it. And you can always tell, because if you take a break from eating seed oils and then you have just a little bit, you feel it immediately, either in like your mouth or in your stomach. Like my stomach hurts.
Right.
And then you're like, okay, this sucks, you know?
For sure. Yeah, I noticed it. It's just so crazy how fast your body adapts. Like if you take off a week of eating things that maybe fog you up, you feel so different so fast. But yeah, I just found it so interesting that there's such a disconnect between the education around seed oils. And I went food shopping with my mom and dad the other day, and they go to this grocery store that just is the opposite of Whole Foods. And I'm like looking down these aisles for freaking croutons because we were going to make a Caesar salad. And literally every bag of croutons was made with seed oils. And I was just educating my mom while I was there. I was like, okay, don't buy something that has this in it. Don't buy this. And I was looking at the mayos to find one that had like an olive oil base. And they were all palm oil and like some other type of seed oil. And I was like, you know what? Screw this. We're going to make our own croutons. So we went to the bakery and we got like a sourdough loaf. And then I made my own mayo with like olive oil and an egg.
Yeah.
And I was just showing my mom the things in the grocery store, how literally every single thing in that grocery store had seed oils in it. And I was like, you guys should just take the extra 10 minutes to drive to Whole Foods because it's so worth it. And it's just wild. I'm looking at this grocery store. It feels so outdated. You know those grocery stores that you walk into and you're like, where can I get anything that's like organic in here? They don't even have like organic vegetables, like King Cullen vibe. And I was just educating my parents around this. And sometimes I think they think I'm like fucking nuts with all of these things that I believe in and say. And they're like, okay, can we just take a minute and relax?
You're like, no, you don't understand. I am relaxed. This is who I am now.
Yeah. So I try not to like say too much, and it is what it is. But I just want to help educate people around this as much as I can in a way that they're open to like hearing it. And my parents are very open to that information and learning about that because they are generally very health conscious. So it's just like the next level of that for them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, dude, it's crazy. A lot of grocery stores don't have food. 99% of them are literally not food. It is like insane.
Yeah, it's like solid
it's
chemicals.
mind-boggling. And then you're like, no wonder we have so many chronic health issues in this country.
Yeah.
People aren't eating real food.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my little spiel on seed oils.
Amazing. Love it. We love matcha. Beautiful. Slay. Go watch that vlog. It's fun. And check out the matcha tutorial. Okay. So, okay, I guess we'll do the quick, I mean, that was kind of our check-in, but we can just do our unhinged. What's the most unhinged thing happening in your life, either that you've done, thought, or experienced this week, or maybe just in the last month?
Oh my God. The amount of poopy diapers I've seen this week has been unfucking hinged. My sister had a baby and he is so cute and so adorable. He's like 2 days old. Not 2 days. He's actually a little over a week old now. But he's just so tiny and so cute. And I feel like I'm coming face to face with the miracle of life while also recognizing how not ready I am to have a child. Which is definitely something I wanted to chat about on the pod. But yeah, I'll share my insight now and then I'll let you share your life updates. But I feel like, I think I told you this, but I want to tell the Omies. I feel like there's this deep program that runs so deep in our society around the ages that you're meant to get married, the age that you're meant to have a baby, like that age bracket of like, go get engaged, go get married, go buy the house, go have a kid. And I have entered into that bracket and it is wild how much pressure comes from the outside world on how you're meant to live your life. And it's very interesting because like my sister just had a baby and like everyone's asking Peter and I when we're going to have a baby. And I get it. He's older. I'm still 29, about to be 30 in a few weeks. And I understand that there's like so many people in my hometown having babies and having their whole Northport life and all the things. And I just didn't even really bother to think about my personal timing in a way of like, oh, I actually can wait if I want to wait. I kind of just let myself fall into this thinking of like, yes, everyone's having babies now. I want a baby. I guess that means I'm meant to have a baby right now too. And I had this whole realization recently and I was talking to Peter. I'm like, you know what? I don't think I actually want a baby right now. Like I am so focused on this baby of a business that Bella and I have, the world of Ohm, and the mission that we're so connected to that literally gives us so much purpose every single day I want to give my full attention to the things that are in my life already, like my relationship, this business, our friendship, my other friendships, travel, really feeling into the freedom that exists in my life. And like, that's what I want to prioritize right now, like my mission, my purpose, and pouring into that. And I just had this whole like awakening around, oh my goodness, it is so easy to just think that you want something because of the way that society makes you think you're supposed to want that right in that moment. And I definitely want children, but I just have come to the realization that I don't want them right now. And I think that can sound very obvious to some people of like, okay, great. You decided that you want to wait a few years to have kids. But for me, it was like this big almost awakening because I'm finally owning the fact that like I'm not ready and I want to wait. And the response that people will always say to you is, oh, well, you're never ready. And I agree with that. Like, there's no way you can ever be fully ready to have a child when you've never experienced having a child before. You just don't know what you don't know. But something that you and I have talked about is that there's one thing about like accepting that you won't be ready, but there's a whole other world that exists for us now where we're not just in the cookie cutter life of like, you do this, you do this, you do this.
Right.
It's like we're actually having this level of awareness that allows us to look at our life from our own empowering lens and ask, how do I want my life to unravel? Where would be the best time to insert another being into my life where I could give full presence and have this financial situation where it would be free flowing and I wouldn't have to stress about like affording a nanny or whatever it is that comes with having a child. That's just not what I envision for myself when I see myself having kids. And who knows, maybe I like magically get pregnant literally in a month and I have a kid and look back at this podcast and I'm like, you fucking fool. But for now, this is just my perspective on it. And I will welcome any blessing that comes my way. But I think I'm just recognizing, I think I'm actually going to accept that I want to just take a little bit of a beat and live life on my own terms for now.
Yeah, it's really the bigger revelation here, no matter what it is, whether it's like when you want to have a baby or when you want to get married or your house or your job, is just like, you're just owning your own life and your own timeline. And that's the biggest thing. And I think that is actually what will completely dissipate any pressure, because it's only felt if you are also buying into what other people are saying. But if you literally don't give a crap because you're just like, no, this is my life, this is what works, then eventually people pick up on that and they stop asking. And I remember I experienced this with my relationship because Milan and I like moved in together. I get not like that early, but basically like my parents and like aunts and uncles, this is just what I heard through like the grapevine, like thought it basically just that you should be engaged first or you should get married first before you move in, before you commit to whatever. And I was always like, that's not how my relationship works. Milan and I committed to each other and we have talked about how we are in this and like, this is it. We're going to like, you're the one, I'm the one for you. Let's do this. Let's do life. And let's like do it on our own terms. And I remember I explained that to my parents. I was like, we are not going to get engaged anytime soon. This was like 5 years ago, by the way. So I was like 24 or whatever and coming out of college, and I was planning on moving in with him and they were concerned about it. But I was just like, we don't function like anybody is going to tell us to. This is how our relationship works. Like, Mom, I know you grew up in this type of thing where this is what happened. And it was the real sign that you were committed to each other was when he proposed. And I'm like, that's not how we function. We're good. Like, we don't need that as the thing to get us to be committed to each other. And then I remember it was beautiful because through that, there was just more and more like release of any feeling of, oh, what about this? What about that? And yeah, obviously like my parents will still ask like, when is this happening or whatever. But I think it also becomes so obvious when someone is just like, this is what's happening. This is my life update. We're thinking about this right now, but we're not thinking about this. And they're like, oh, okay.
Right.
Sounds good. Or I guess you just filter out that like the rules set coming from other people because you just own where you're at. And it's so liberating
and
for whatever it is. It's so empowering.
Yes.
And then this is what's beautiful with babies is like, like you said, it's not that you don't want a child or you're like diminishing the beauty of that. You're actually understanding how sacred it is and how beautiful it is, that you want to do it very consciously and very intentionally. It's not out of control. It's not out of like, well, wait for this, whatever. It's like, no, I want to be in like, yeah, it's just like when you get in shape for a marathon, like, yeah, take your time. Don't just run a marathon tomorrow out of nowhere. Like that's going to be really rough and you probably won't enjoy it as much, you know? And if you're the type of person like how we're speaking, that you like this idea of being that like active participant and making that decision more from, you know, not just to check the box and like hit the timeline stamps, but for what feels right for you, you'll make that decision very easily, right? It could be that for you, maybe it's like, I actually want to have a baby now and focus on career later because that's aligned for you.
Right.
It's like, okay,
yeah,
great. Just own it.
this is what Peter and I did for our wedding too. We just eloped in Vegas and we just like looked at each other one day and we're like, do you feel like planning a wedding? I'm like, no. Do you? He's like, no. I'm like, let's just freaking go to Vegas, get married. And in a few years when we're in Europe, we'll have like, our plan is to do like a 5-year vow renewal.
Yeah.
And, I can envision it. I like see myself in like a very casual white dress and us having like this really epic party with our friends and like just imagining like all the people that we love in one place. Like I can just see it. I can like see you and Milan there and like all our friends from LA and our home friends and just like having this epic week of traveling in Europe, but then also celebrating our love. But at that time, I was like, I don't want to fucking do this right now. I'm just not in the mood for this. So just allow yourself to live life on your own terms. And like people will come to accept what it is that feels good to you. And it's actually pretty wild when you just take a step back and can feel into like how many programs exist for us in the society, because it's literally all made up. Like this was the way I felt with weddings, like all the traditions that are a part of a wedding. I'm like looking at the bride and groom at all these weddings. I'm like, do you actually want to do that thing? Or is that just like a thing that you think you need to do? And I did actually attend a lot of beautiful weddings in the past few years where the bride and groom chose to do it their own way. And it was actually really cool to see this like shift in the way that people are approaching these like traditional things. But those are always really cool weddings to attend. But then sometimes you'll go to a wedding and you're like, is anyone having fun here?
Yeah. This is so funny. This came up for me that just within the last 24 hours. I was mentioning this to you of this is the power of the Terminator attitude. If you have been listening for a while, you probably heard us in the early episodes talk about this audio that I would listen to. I listened to it for something like 60 days straight. And it's this very intense masculine voice that just is hammering in this attitude of not caring what other people think and just being fully dedicated to whatever is important to you. And it's like empowering and like able to do anything. Like it's the central part of it really is not giving an F what people think about you. And this is all like so easy when you have that installed in your mind, where you literally just eliminate the thought pattern of what will people think or perceive about this. And it's like frees up so much energy to pour into other things. And this is the energy of when you just own it. And it's like funny because this is what, when people like walk into a room and they're so sure about something, even if they're wrong, you will literally believe it because they're that sure about it. And it's just like energy that they're just fucking bought in, and they don't like are not operating by anybody else's rules. And that's the energy that we like read between people, is when they're just like doing something according to their own plan. And it's very liberating. So I just want to share that in case anybody's curious. I've recommended it to a lot of people because it's really intense, but I swear it like put the final nail in the thing for me of just being like, yeah, this is like not a consideration in my mind anymore. And it's crazy how much of an energy leak it can create when that is there.
Yes. Energy leak is a good way to describe it, because then when you're in an experience with other people, you like catch yourself in those moments of maybe caring and you just reclaim your energy. And subconsciously you can just start to ponder, like, why is it that I'm caring what people are perceiving about me? Like, am I thinking that my sense of self comes from something outside of me? And then couple that with just the reprogramming of really releasing that need to be validated by others is just so liberating. I also had this kind of realization come through as you were talking, how it's not like we're just saying, oh, like, rebel the system, rebel the conditions, like just do the opposite of what society tells us to do. What Bella and I are really pointing out, and I want to talk directly to the Omis now, is when you start thinking about the things that you actually value in life, instead of the list of things that we're told to value, you actually have the time and energy to focus on the things that you want to do in life. And this is what you would always talk about with, like, just cut it out, like cut the fat out of your life of the things that just don't matter. And it's interesting when I reflect on, did I want to plan a wedding at that point in my life when I was just really picking up my coaching career and focusing on, at the time, I was like building my TikTok audience and working one-on-one with people. Like, did I want to build out a whole freaking event and a wedding with planners and spending $50,000 or however much it was? No, like that was not what my heart was like. Yes, let's freaking go. All that mattered to me was the commitment my husband and I were making to each other that we could do in a room with some folding chairs for $200 with our, what was that guy's name who officiated our wedding?
Elvis?
No, Elvis did peek his head in. Oh, fuck, what was his name? It was like this very classic old man name. He was the cutest man. It was like Gary,
Clarence.
Greg, Frank, Fred, one of those classic names. But you really do reclaim your time back. And now I'm reflecting too, like why it is maybe I want to wait 2 years, possibly 3 years to have a child. It's because where I want to put my time right now is so sacred to me. And it's just so important to me that is just my personal value system. And I think this is why some people decide not to have children. It's because their personal value system for not just their 20s to 30s, their whole life is just ranked differently than what another person would have. And it's just so important to think about what you truly value in life and to spend your time leaning into that, even if it looks weird to other people, because that's the thing that like truly fills your soul and makes you so happy.
Amen, dog.
Yeah.
It's like, this is also why I really love seeing every side of the spectrum. Like then you have people who fully lean into like being a traditional wife and like having 18 million babies and they love it. And I'm like, fucking pop off. I love it. Like literally I have no problem with that. Like that's the thing too, is you can tell when you're fully owning your way of being because you are not bothered by when people do it differently.
Yes.
You're like, cool. Like slay, do the thing, you know? So yeah, I think also with children, like in our way of being, if you will, it's like, I think we'll kind of know too when our spirit child like visits us and like says that it's time. At least I have a feeling that will happen. And it's interesting because we had a few episodes last year where I mentioned that my spirit son visited me, but I know that it wasn't because he was ready to come through. It was like an initial introduction, and that when it is time, like he'll be back and he'll be like, okay, I want to come onto earth, please, let's go.
Peter and I are feeling into this like really beautiful knowing that our babies are with his dad right now and the other side on the other side. And I don't know if there's just one baby with him or two, but we keep seeing 2 red cardinals everywhere we go. And then on Peter's birthday, I was telling him like, ask for a sign from your dad. And when we were in the city, we sat down at a diner, and the diner had these really cute salt and pepper shakers, like different ones on every table. And we look over 2 tables away, and the salt and pepper shakers were 2 red cardinals.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And like we were both just like, what the heck? But anyway, your turn.
Wow.
Any updates, lessons, things that are coming through in your reality right now?
I mean, really, just the most unhinged thing happening in my life right now is my dog, which I've been talking about, and I'm just fully leaning in to the chaos. And it's funny, my new routine in the morning is I just do so many laps around the house with a different toy in my hand, and just getting Zara to come after me. And now I'm cracking the code on if I want her to be chill so that I can work. I need to exhaust her to the point where we can't stop playing until she's initiating stopping playing. And even when she gets tired, I'm like, no, we're going to keep going. And we keep throwing the ball. Anyway, it's just funny because if you zoomed out and you did a time lapse, you would just see me literally doing laps just around my house, around the house, around the house, throw the ball, come back, throw the ball, come back. Cause all right, come here for an hour and a half. That was me this morning. And I'm just embracing it because that's now, I'm outside more. I'm getting way more steps in. I'm walking all around my property. And when it gets warm out and sunny, and hot, I'll put a bathing suit on and just work on my tan every day. But to be honest, there's also still sometimes resistance and frustration points because it's a goddamn puppy. It's an animal. So that's why it's unhinged. I have moments where I'm like, what the is going on? And she gets crazy and psychotic, but that's it. That's it.
They're our biggest spiritual teachers.
Yes, truly. Yeah. But no, I truly am very in love with her. It's crazy how much dogs awaken a capacity to love. And you literally know it for 2 seconds and you're in love. And you're like, I would literally kill for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And even little things this is also just proof of how, I don't know, there's this really beautiful aspect of sacred bond building. And actually I will speak to this from being a 4 profile in human design because I am very picky with people and dogs. I don't just take to all dogs. And Nikki and I have had our grievances about this because when for anybody, when I really first meet their dog, it's a mutual understanding. A dog is sussing me out and I'm sussing them out. It's not because I hate them. It's just because I'm a fucking 4 line and it's a bit of an intuitive process to figure out if I'm going to get this person or this dog into my fucking circle. Cause the circle is small, it's tight and it only happens if all the the intuition's on point. Anyway, so with Zara, it's beautiful because little things that, how dogs have a smell, right? Some dogs have more of a doggy smell than others. Dobermans have an interesting type of smell. And I noticed it on my brother's Doberman, but it wasn't something, I was neutral. I was okay, this is just an interesting dog smell. And now with Zara, I'm obsessed with the way that she smells. I literally am inhale it like a crack addict because I've associated it with now such a loving thing that it's just a really cute way that us humans, we fall in love with even little quirks or things that are, normally we would find, I don't know, not good or just we wouldn't even think about. And then all of a sudden a little thing about how your partner smells or your dog smells or this little quirk that they have turns into something that you're obsessed with and that stirs the loving hormone in you. And it's just, I really love the feeling of when I very consciously grow my circle of tight-knit homies, and when I'm officially have another soul that I'm oh yes, you are a person in my life that I'm going to pour so much love into. I'm going to enable the shit out of you, and I'm also going to learn how to go through all the things that I'm here to learn about relationships. And it's just really beautiful. So I'm experiencing that with Zara, where I'm just in love with the things that at face value would not really be that interesting to me. But because now it's a soul that I've connected with, it's really, really beautiful.
Aww.
So it's just funny.
I can't wait to meet her.
Yeah. Yeah. What the fuck? Are you coming at the end of February?
I don't know. I need to say, I wanted to assess like how much I'm needing to go home and ground, because
Yeah.
I'm in like full understanding that our time together is sacred, because we're pouring into the podcast and into our offerings. And I'm just thinking, would it be, I want to like see how I'm feeling to see if it would be worth it to like go home and ground and then reset.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
But I definitely have been on a journey of grounding more while on vacation. I mean, I'm not really on vacation. I'm just visiting my family. And normally I would stay at my house, but because there's so many bodies in that house right now, and I also needed to work and Peter needed to work, we were like, okay, let's get an Airbnb in our town. And I feel like this was a good step for me to be a little bit more grounded in my own energy and focused on work and being in my own flow, and then still having the freedom to like be with my family every day. And it's just like a good energetic boundary for myself to like have more alone time and to just be in my own rhythm. And I have so much travel this year. I feel like I've told you this, but I'll tell the Omies. I just have a lot of travel this year, and I'm really challenging myself to feel into a reality where travel does not take me out of my highest energy.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys listening can relate to this, but when you go home, you kind of like, your brain associates that location with old habits and behaviors, and you kind of start showing up and acting like an old self. So it takes like even more grounding and remembering and meditation and just being with yourself to hold the frequency of who you truly are, and to not let the old self kind of like pull you back in to old patterns. And
Right.
I'm definitely feeling that energy of like, yeah, just the old patterns and the old sense of self coming up. But it's just so funny. The second you sit down in meditation, you're like, oh, there I am. And you just feel your soul.
Yes. Do you have any tips for someone that's like navigating that, where they like are traveling or going back home and feel the like old self tendencies or something coming up, of like what they can do to ground back in to their energy?
Yes. What I would say is, first of all, bring something with you that is going to be like your altar, or like your thing that's going to be in front of you when you're meditating. For me, it's my journal. Like I brought like a little journal with me, and when I meditate, I like put my journal in front of me. I just set up like a cozy spot for me to have my little sanctuary. So establishing that in the Airbnb as this spot on the couch right here was like where I decided this is going to be my new home base, and just cultivating that energy from day one. And then if I'm sensing that there's old patterns and old ways of being coming up, I just do like little resets with myself. So this morning I took out my journal and I pretended like I was a doctor listening to myself. So I neutralized everything I was feeling, any emotions that were coming up, and I just wrote it down as if I was like a doctor writing on its like little list the symptoms of what's occurring. And I wrote down like experiencing brain fog, a little bit of like emotional heaviness, like not really connected to body, and then I like prescribed myself like what I can do to no, like I literally did this. Like I had an idea of actually creating like a cool product that looks like a doctor's pad, where you could write down like the emotions you're feeling and what's happening for you.
But they
internally.
actually prescribe you something that works, and that isn't just a Band-Aid and isn't giving them a little payout after they prescribe it.
Yeah, an internal inner world focused shift.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just funny because I feel like my physical body has been kind of getting a little beaten over the past few days of being away from my home. I went to New York and I walked 6 miles in the wrong shoes and got this nasty blister on my Achilles heel. And then yesterday it was snowing and I fell down the staircase outside and landed on a brick. And my whole knee is swollen.
God.
And then my nail lady canceled on me before I came here. So I've been peeling off my acrylic nails and my nails are peeling off with them and they're like thin and hurting.
Oh my God, you're a hot mess.
I'm literally a hot mess, but it's like, fine. I'm feeling okay. I'm just like, okay, this is all we can control.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I also got a knee injury when I went home over Christmas. It was so stupid. I don't even know what caused it. I went to the gym. I was like just finally starting to feel better after being sick. And I was like, let me go to the gym. That'll feel really good. Then I got back upstairs and in the shower, my knee was like really hurting. And I just had this very bizarre,
I remember this.
yeah, just like, and I was like limping for like 4 days. It was so stupid. Like I didn't even know what caused it. And then it was fine.
Now she's fine. What would you say are good things for people to remember if they're ever traveling home or feeling like they're revisiting old patterns that you personally do, or just things to remember?
Yeah. One thing I thought of was just like communicate, like just, it's really good practice. Like let's say someone invites you to something, or I don't know, it's just like little things where you can just be like, oh, I don't like doing that anymore. Or I don't know. I'm trying to think of like what a specific example is, but just communicate the things also that you're doing, like explaining to your parents or something like, I know I'm here and I'm pretty flexible in my work schedule, but there's times of the day where I have to be totally uninterrupted for what I'm doing. And so I'm going to go over here. Like, if you guys want to hang out, can we plan it? Whatever. Like, just communicate, like very proactive communication. Because sometimes too, when you have a flexible job and you work for yourself or you work remote, sometimes people they just assume that you're more free, which is like somewhat true, but also they just like don't fully understand how you work and function. So I've always found it really helpful to just very much communicate clearly, like your expectations, your plan for the day, what works, what doesn't, like being like, hey, I'm going to put headphones on, not because I'm trying to ignore you, but because I need to focus in and it's better for me to listen to music. So if you have a question, like, and I'm not answering, it's because it's just like little things like that I found are helpful, especially like my mom, if you're in the room, she wants to like chat with you. So I'll be like, I want to work in this living room because whatever, but I'm going to have headphones on. So please don't talk to me unless it's like really urgent. And little things like that I find just like set the tone and get everybody on the same page. And yeah, just have to be setting. Like, yeah, you're just setting boundaries, or you're just like explaining, you're just like guarding your time and your efforts. And yeah, it's just like say no to stuff you don't actually want to do anymore. Like if your friends are inviting you out to the bar, but you're over it and you don't drink anymore, like don't, just say no and don't go. And it's a really good practice because whatever comes up, right? If you're like worried that they're going to think, like, you want to know those things are coming up for you, because then the next time you come home and you work through that, it won't happen. And the experiences just get smoother and smoother and smoother. And then eventually it's like easy peasy to travel and hold yourself, because you keep like almost giving everybody like the update of like, here's what's going on. This is how I'm approaching the day. Whatever, I have time for this. I don't have time for this. Done, you know?
Right. It's like taking your new embodied frequency and actually taking actions that go outward instead of letting the external determine your internal.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah. Okay. What's your rabbit hole thing that you had in mind?
I'm actually not going to bring it up. I like literally just mentally decided this. I'm like,
oh shit, I want to know what it was.
I'll tell you after, but I just don't want to
tell me off air, everyone.
What?
Okay.
I just don't want to go in this direction because it's going to bring us down like a rabbit hole of more so like conspiracy. And I'm like, you know what? We don't need to give that attention. We don't need to give that energy.
Okay, fair. Okay, well, how about this? How about I share, unless you have something else in mind, I can practice some of my accents.
Send it.
Okay, everybody knows I like doing my accents. You know what I also realized? There's this common accent that I do on the podcast, specifically just with me and you. And I was like, what is this accent? And I realized it's me making fun of your Long Island talk.
Wait,
I don't
which
even realize it. It's when I start being like oh god. It's like a New Yorkie accent that I start doing.
How you doing?
And I start talking like that, and I'm like, listen, you gotta put that down, stop caring about it, like that. And I'm like, where's that coming from? I'm like, oh, I just do it with Nikki because I'm making fun of like sometimes your accent. And I was like, oh,
have you ever been to Long Island?
No.
Oh my god, You would die
so.
because it's like you walk around and there are these like dads everywhere. Like we just went to the bagel place for breakfast this morning, and like in the parking lot, it's like these two dads being like, and then she said this and and like in the New York accent, I'm like, what are you doing today? Like, oh, I'm going to work and a bagel. Like
It's so good.
Literally everywhere, and you just realize, like I was so immersed in it when I was growing up that you just think that this is just the way life is and this is how people are. But now when I'm around adults that like haven't left Long Island, or even some of my friends, I'm like, wow, you actually have a really thick Long Island accent.
Yes.
And it's not even just the accent, it's like the energy of like the way.
Yes, it comes with like a
like
an
vibe.
energy and intonation. Yes,
Yeah,
totally.
But I am nothing compared to like if you met my mom.
No,
or
I
like,
know. I know.
like
I know. Yes, I feel like I've heard her voice some like through either a phone or something, a video or something. Yeah, it's really funny. Yeah, I don't know what I love doing accent. What is your psychological analysis of why I like doing accents?
Can you tell me a bit more about like what you experience when you're doing it?
Well, okay. Well, I guess it's kind of simple. I grew up, me and Lorenzo were like the performers of the family. So we would like break out into skits very often, like in the middle of dinner, where we were just like doing like improv and stuff. And then I guess we watched a lot of movies, and we would be like, my dad has an accent. He has like a pretty thick Spanish accent, and we would joke that he sounded Russian. So it's kind of like a thing, I guess, built into my childhood, that it was like my mom and us kids spoke in one way, and then my dad held his accent. And me and Andres used to have British accents when we spoke English, because the school we went to in Argentina when we were very little taught British English, and they would teach it to you like with the British
oh my
accent.
God. Wait, do you have like video content of you as a little British kid?
I don't know if there's video content of me with it. I think there might be of Andres, but definitely like there was a time when I was little and I spoke English that I had also just like a Spanish accent when I spoke when I was really little, like when we first moved to the US. But yeah, it's kind of just been a thing where it's like if a camera turned, like when I was little, if the camera turned on and pointed to me or Lorenzo, we would just like break out into skit and into like voices and stuff. So I just find it very like fun and interesting, and like Lorenzo and I will do it together where we just like pick characters and we just like talk in the character accent. And yeah, maybe it's like a funny like embodiment exercise too, where because it kind of comes with like a stereotype in a way, which is why people would argue it's like offensive, but I think that's just like too tight ass, like fucking talking an accent, dude. Make fun of people. Like we're all humans. Like everyone's equal. Who cares? So it's just like fun and silly to like put yourself in those shoes, because then when you talk in the accent, you like change your energy and you have like a different like way that you engage.
I think it's like almost costume for your soul. That's the vibe I'm getting. It's like it's a fun like play that you have always engaged in with your family and with Lorenzo specifically, that has become like a childlike energy activation for you. Yes.
And that actually makes total sense, because we know one of my big channels in human design is the 5125, and the 25 gift has to do with like childlike wonder and innocence and this like very like pure energy of just like almost like silliness and enjoying like the novelty of life. So
there you go.
Yeah, I do feel like that's a big thing. And then the other argument I always make is that my throat center is completely open with no definitions, so I can just like shape shift how my voice sounds.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense, because then you have like other things that you do in life that are really embracing the childlike essence. Like I feel like your authentic energy and the way that you live life is through that lens of carefree, high vibe, unhinged. The same type of energy that a kid would take to the playground is the way that you approach life. And then for you personally, it's like you have these little like a toolbox of all the things that help you lean into that even more, that someone would look at and be like, that's silly, I don't do that in my life. And you're like, no, this is actually a way for me to turn up the dial on my childlike essence.
Yes, totally. And then that's like, this is the beauty of how everyone is so differently crafted, because then you have different things that make you like magnetic and are like your strategy.
Because your soul is coming through.
Yeah, because your soul's coming through. Yes. And I remember when I was first trying to figure out how to like build my personal brand and making content, actually one of my original bio, like Instagram bios said, serving it straight and keeping it silly. And it was like a part of my brand.
Wait, I love that.
Yeah. And I mean, this still comes through, but it's just like getting, I don't know, just it's not like I'm really trying to do it. It's just like it feels most natural to just get into like the silly childlike state, because then that actually is what aligns me with whatever like the gift is or the service or the, you know, like the thing I'm supposed to give to the world. And like with Milan, it's like a huge bonding point for the two of us to like be very childlike and to be very like strange and still. I mean, a lot of couples do that. It's like a typical bonding point, but it's like even more so you can like tell the other person is like really like
you're committed to the plot.
You're committed to the plot, but it's also like you see it in your partner's eyes.
Yes.
When you're being your pure self and you see it in their eyes that they are so in love with you and your soul, and it like comes out with those behaviors. And that's how you know too, because like somebody who doesn't see the beauty in that and would like judge being like childlike, that's like it wouldn't be like a soul connection point. But when it is, you're like, oh, this person like really sees my soul.
Yeah. Now I'm like reflecting, there's like just like so many beautiful ways that you can see the soul of your partner. And when you find those unique but also similar points for the two of you, it's almost like an entryway to a deeper connection with the soul. And
yes.
Yeah, you are right. Sometimes it's like people are actually triggered by that because they haven't yet unleashed that within themselves, and they can see that as something activating, or they can see that as something triggering and like turn it down within themselves.
Right. Yes, totally. Yeah.
Did Zara just walk into the building?
Yes, she just came and she's still sleepy right here. I swear she's growing now at like lightning
Rapid speed.
Like every day I'm like, did you just gain a pound overnight?
Yeah, she probably is. Wait, let me see her. I feel like she grows every time I see her on Zoom. Oh my God. Oh.
Yeah.
I just want to kiss her.
Come over. You can kiss all you want.
It's funny because her head looks bigger.
Her head is definitely growing very fast.
I wonder if that hurts.
It's wild.
Because when I was growing in middle school, I would cry at lunch. I went through like an insane growth spurt in 1 year, but I just couldn't even imagine what that feels like for them.
It's probably a little uncomfortable because like this is also why you have to feed them you have to make sure that they're getting fed like a large breed feed, because they grow so fast.
Yeah.
Like their joints have to like keep up or whatever. So yeah, I would imagine that she's like a little uncomfortable because her legs are just shoot. You know, it's funny. Cody, my one of my close friends here, I know you know that I'm saying for Omi's context, has wiener dogs.
Yeah.
Dachshunds. And now because I'm now used to Zara's proportions and height and shape and everything, when I go and see these dogs,
like, where are their legs?
They look like alien. They look like little hot dogs to me. They're so thick and chunky, and their legs are literally an inch. And it's funny because Cody came over and met the dog finally a few days ago, and she was laughing at how tall her legs are.
Yeah.
Like she has like model legs. Her legs are like absurdly long. Like they almost look too long because of her proportions right now. And then you take the weenies and they're just like don't have legs. It's so funny to go like back and forth between them, and you're like,
they look like inchworms the way that they walk.
Literally. Weenies are so cute though. I think I would in some point in life probably like also be down to get a weenie, you know?
One of my best friends just got one and it's so cute. I really, really want to meet her. Actually, wait, I'm meeting her next week. But they're so cute when they're babies too. Like, there's really nothing cuter than a little tiny wiener dog that you're like, oh my goodness, come to mama. So cute.
So cute. Yeah, and actually I think there's a type of wiener dachshund that looks like has Doberman coloring.
That's what she has.
I think. Okay, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's funny because it just stays miniature
Yes,
forever.
yeah. They also have like long-haired ones that look like little golden
Yes.
retriever babies, and then they just
Those
stay
are
that
cute.
that big
That's
too.
what I would get.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are adorable. Yeah. So yeah, I don't want to disturb her. Would make her have an appearance here, but she's peacefully sleeping.
You could put her in the thumbnail.
Yeah, true. I'll take a selfie with her.
I think you took one yesterday. The other day when we recorded.
Yes. So yeah, anything else you'd like to share with our people today?
I have a lot of things to share, but I'll hold it in. I feel like let's try and keep this timely at an hour. I could talk forever.
I mean, arguably this is the type of episode that somebody probably has this on YouTube and is just kick back, relaxed, and listening. So I don't know. If you're down to share, we might as well do one more bit. Like this is on a hinged episode. There's no rules.
Okay, fine. I'll bring up what I was going to bring up before that I didn't bring up. Do you think the helicopter plane accident was real?
Wait, which one? Of what?
Oh God, never mind.
Wait, is this the thing where people have been saying how there's like more plane crashes happening right now or something?
Yeah, there's been some crazy plane crashes that like really should not have happened, where you're like kind of looking at it like, what is going on here? Like a Black Hawk helicopter just flew directly into a commercial flight and killed the entire plane.
Wow.
And there was like a bunch of Russian ice skaters on the commercial plane, and I haven't watched any of the conspiracy videos because I just refuse to go down that rabbit hole because it's literally endless. And like, where are you going with that? We know the world is a messed up place if we choose to just only see that. So that's why I was like, I don't want to bring it up. But I was curious to see if you had any vibes on it. But
I don't know. Honestly, when I see that news, my thing is, this is why I effectively am ignorant. Like, I don't know the news unless like it's such a major event that like everyone's talking about it, or it's very, very relevant to like my immediate life.
Right.
And I know some people probably have like again, it would call you ignorant, but I'm like, no, I just understand what's important and what I'm putting out into the world. So when I see news like that, I just don't know what it does for me to know that. And I know you agree. This is why you don't go down the rabbit hole. Because I'm like, I fly a lot, but I'm going to believe, like, my belief and safety feeling is within. And like, it doesn't serve me to start to like distrust and be afraid when I'm flying. Like that's.
Oh yeah, I wasn't going down that route.
But I guess that's why maybe this is my own thing of like, my imagination goes and I'll, think about it when I'm like,
yeah, that your mind
it'd be
will
better
take it in a different direction.
Yeah, which is probably like its own.
No,
thing
that's
to,
just
like,
you setting
not-
a boundary because you know how maybe your mind works, which is there's nothing wrong in that.
True. Yeah, but it is interesting. But there are things like that happen that I agree. You're like, this doesn't add up. It's like the submarine thing or whatever that was last year, or the year before, with like the billionaire submarine thing. And we were just like,
what was that?
We were like, what is going on? And then, okay, this is the thing too. It gives us a weird feeling because when things don't add up, but then there's like loss of lives and tragedy, you're also like, like what's happening here? Like, why does this feel weird? Also, this is just like sad, and this is just like the sadness of life and loss, and that there's like anything could happen at any moment. But yeah, I don't know. Are people saying there's like a theory of
I don't know. I haven't really watched any of those videos.
Oh, okay.
The one thing that I did see is I follow that girl who like has her own farm and makes her own food. She like always wears her hair in like a really high bun. And
oh yes. What is her name?
She'll start her reels with like, I'm a conspiracy theorist. Of course I da 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 da.
I know exactly who you're talking about. What is her name? Shoot. But yeah, she's like, yeah, I love her. She's very funny.
Sometimes
she's always
she'll
like
post content about actual conspiracy theorists that go beyond the food industry. And I just watched, I didn't even watch the full video. I just watched like the first 3 seconds of it, of her talking about how this doesn't seem to be making sense and adding up. And I didn't really think much about it. I just continued to scroll by because I was like, I don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But I was just curious if it had come across your feed, because I just haven't exposed myself to the conversation around it. And I was wondering more so like, is it common knowledge that this like isn't adding up? Or like, did I just watch one video and it
Got
was
it.
way out of left field? But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is my, well, sorry, what were we going to say?
I was just going to say, I feel like the world is like one big stage. And sometimes I see things in the news and I'm like, one, like what you're saying, holy crap, there's actual lives that are being affected here, and like families and human beings that are not meant to be in the freaking crossfire of this
Right.
insane, I don't even know what to call it, but sometimes I look at like the way that like my mom will have the news on when we're at home and I'm just watching it. I'm like, this literally feels like an SNL skit.
Yeah, it just feels, yeah, it's weird because you just like don't, yeah, it's when things get sensationalized. And also, this is also what I was going to say is actually the news itself, like typical, let's just say for mainstream media, even like any news outlet really, but let's say mainstream media, is I always just think about how like they make conscious decisions to share things just purely for like clicks or fear. Like this is what we discovered in COVID era when CNN or whatever it was, there was like this investigator, what's it called? Project Veritas would send people undercover to talk to like people who worked at CNN, and they would admit that they would put like the death count of COVID deaths on the screen on purpose because it was like really good for viewer retention. And it just like exposed all of these really shady practices that news outlets do just purely for profit or attention, or because they will literally admit like it makes people fearful and more scary things increase our viewership. So knowing that, I always remember, I'm like, there is so much happening in the world at all times that these news outlets are designed to just amplify all of the like bad, scary stuff that they know people associate with fear. And they use that to make money. And then I remember that. And so I'm like, okay, there's also so many other good things happening in the world. This is just like the basic argument for consciously choosing what you consume, because what you consume and observe is what you create. And this is just like mainstream media 101. When they have an agenda of control and fear and profit, like they're profiting off of your division and fear, and they see the numbers do well with that. That's why I'm like, I don't want to know anything that you put out, because you're just doing it with this agenda in mind to continue separation and fear and anxiety so that you make money, right? Versus like when you hear about, it's all about conscious selection of events, because there's a billion gazillion things happening in the world all the time. So we're like writing our story of reality according to what these news outlets cherry pick for us. And that's why like Sarah Zula will talk so much about anyone who's like in this idea of the power of subconscious beliefs and like the collective dream we're creating, will advocate for taking a break from the news, because they're trying to write the story of humanity. And that's why now there's a shift happening, because we realize that if we spend more time literally cherry picking in different ways, or at least relating to the shadows in a more conscious way, that's how we rewrite the collective dream. And that's why I just like fully unplug from news. And I know you do the same, because it's just like, there's so many things to focus on. We need to choose what we focus on. It's like so obvious that what the gig is that they're trying to do.
And this is why we always advise to not even go down the rabbit holes, because then that's just another level of that.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's just really choosing how we wish to create our own reality, and through the collective reality of how we're contributing with our energetic frequency. And that's why even when I saw that video that girl posted, I'm like, I think it's time to unfollow this. Like, I get her mission of waking people up, but at the same time, she's literally doing the exact same thing that the news is doing, using fear to get views, because people want to hear about the fucking conspiracies and all that. And it's just like another level of it, where you gotta like wake up at one point and be like, okay, I'm living on my farm, I have all my things, let's now talk about like the beautiful things that come of this life. And
yes, yeah, which, as you say that, it's like, this is where you can find, I'll actually plug This is what I think Alex Zek, who is going to be coming on our podcast at some point this year. I think we're going to have him on this summer. But what I'm pointing out is people who are able to talk about and like report on, if you will, the, let's call them conspiracy things or darker shadows of what's happening, but they are always providing solutions and a way forward. And Alex's whole podcast is literally called The Way Forward. And if I ever want to hear about or tap into these like alternative perspectives on news and current events, I'll go to a source like him because I know that he's willing to question it. He's going to talk about it. He's not afraid of the shadows, but he's always doing it in the context of, okay, now what's the way forward and how are we, and providing so many solutions that he's kind of like mastered that consciousness of being able to go down the, what you would call the quote unquote conspiracy route, but actually it's very grounded in like research, talking to so many perspectives.
There's no fear.
Questioning things. There's no fear.
When you're listening to him, you feel so safe.
Yes, totally. And so that's the difference is like, I mean, I don't know enough about, I follow this woman you're talking about, and I don't consume her content enough to know what her other like topics are. Like if she's also like teaching you about homesteading or something, or if it's just more like entertainment content. But that to me is like the biggest differentiator, is when someone is also in the consciousness of creating better solutions and steps to take type of thing.
It's the same with your own individual shadows too. It's learning to relate to them with compassion, love, instead of like fear and rejection, and then looking at them and using them as a portal to actually shift into a higher way of being, which is what Alex Zek does very beautifully. And there is the sense of groundedness when you're not feeling like you're literally knocked off of your feet by witnessing a shadow. You're able to like see it as what it is, but then understand the choice point that exists. And this is what we can apply to collective shadows and also individual shadows, is understanding that they're just mirrors for us to wake up to higher truths within ourselves. And I do feel like we're all going through this in our own individual way on a collective scale, where we're really being asked to look at the shadows that exist in the world and to ask ourselves, like, how am I personally contributing to this, you know? And to see it as a reflection
like
of our own internal worlds. Which is why I was like, I don't even want to bring this up, but it was just more of a playful perspective on like what.
Yeah. Cause that's where ultimately like we can talk about these things, and it's, you know, this is where you don't want to feel that like rigidity of like the spiritual ego. That's like, no. Like, we can't talk about that.
It just is what it is.
It is what it is. It's also nuanced. It's like at the end of the day, we're going to hop off this recording and continue consciously creating our life. That's all that matters. Like I always remember that too with, you know, like my partner watches a lot more news than I do, but then I'm also like, okay, he's also the most involved in creating his life and like taking action and like becoming the being and building our family. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. You can indulge in your news, like as long as you know your line of when it's too much. And we all have our thing that we're still figuring out the balance of, but it's like ultimately if you are in that like conscious co-creation of your life and that is your like majority state of being, then like, yeah, fucking indulge your thing and see what's going on over there. Like, fine, you know, like it's all about that neutrality and if the charge is there.
Right. I also have this theory that I'm kind of already seeing unravel. And I feel like I may have told you this, but I even saw a girl that I know. She used to be like, actually, you know what? I'm not going to go into politics. I'm going to hold myself back. We're over an hour.
That's fine. Yes. Okay. Okay. Let's think of anything fun, anything funny that we can end on. Let me look at our list here. Okay. Let's do a really, really quick unhinged dream analysis. This can be like another segment that maybe we do. Okay. Actually, I'm curious if I personally have been having a lot more dreams lately, and they've been so like, I don't know, weird, sometimes scary, but not so much, more just like intricate and strange. my theory is that it has a lot to do with the planetary alignments right now. And because Aquarius can be very head heavy and ideation heavy, I've also had so many memories randomly popping into my brain.
Wow.
Of like childhood memory, a smell I used to like all these random things popping out of nowhere that get triggered by something I'm looking at or listening to. And I think it has to do with this energy that we're in right now that's very maybe like mind crown focused. And so there's like a lot of stuff pinging there.
For sure. Yeah. So what has been coming through?
Well, okay, the latest dream, this one's not that interesting, I guess, but I haven't thought or dreamed about this in a while. I think I told you I used to get stress dreams about either my engagement going horribly wrong or my wedding going horribly wrong. I haven't had those in months, which actually makes sense because I was having those when I was in such anticipation of getting proposed to, and I was like stressed about when Milan and I were going to get engaged. And ever since
From
that,
the
like,
outside pressure?
No, just from like my own, I think, of just like that I thought it was like going to be happening and it like wasn't. And so it was like my own sort of internal turmoil over it. Ever since that has taken a side, ever since, what's the word? Basically, we like reconfigured what am I trying to say? I remember I talked to you about this. It was like, oh, we actually want to focus on this right now. I set it down because it wasn't aligned for us at the time. So ever since that happened, I haven't been dreaming about it. But last night I had a dream, and it wasn't a stress dream, but it was that it felt psychic because I actually had my first ever psychic moment through a dream in high school where I was on vacation and I had this vivid dream about like a party with people I was friends with and this like drama that went down at the party. And when I got home, I was getting like my friend update and they told me that that thing had happened and I hadn't heard about it yet. And I predicted it in my dream. At the time, I don't think I really thought about it too much. I thought it was just a coincidence, but it was like my first psychic moment through a dream. Anyway, last night I had a dream that Milan had ordered a diamond from Serbia specifically. This is probably just coming through because I've been studying Serbian. So I'm like seeing that like words and languages in my mind. But I had a dream that he was actually making moves forward on designing the ring and that he was going to propose very soon. And I haven't been thinking about it or dreaming at all about it. So I was like, that is very interesting. And I don't really think there's much to psychoanalyze other than maybe I am having, because it was neutral and it was like not stress related, that maybe he is now, and I think this is true. I actually do think this might be happening where he's actually now thinking about, okay, when am I going to propose and let me get the ring going and all of that stuff. And so my soul is, my psyche, whatever, is maybe picking up on it and delivering it to me through a dream.
Okay, untap your psychic ass from this experience so that you can be surprised.
Yeah, but the thing is, I am going to be surprised because here's the thing. I hear you and I know because this is like where I get like control-y and that's where like the shadow side of the dreams come in, where I'm clearly like thinking about it so much that I have nightmares that it's going to go wrong. So I get that. However, I also feel like I know that Milan and his ability to like secretly plan something, and because he like knows me so well in certain ways of like my desires, that he would crush keeping it a secret. And so therefore I will be very surprised. But I also think that my psychic self will just know without me even like trying.
Right. You're not choosing.
You know,
Yeah,
like it's like
you can't help it.
I'm psychic. Yeah. It's gonna come through. Like
nothing's getting by this bitch.
You can't plan a secret without me. I'm gonna know. I don't know.
Okay, well so then yeah, just like drop it and let that be a fun little psychic
so
moment.
I guess the point is we won't psychoanalyze it. We'll just say, so engagement and ring is in the vicinity. It is percolating in the air. So we see whatever happens. I will share, I had another interesting psychic moment just a few days ago. This is a regular occurrence at this point. Obviously, duh. But anyway, we were driving on the highway and I was actually really like sleepy. So I was in kind of a like what do you call that? Just like lower brainwave state. What's the word I'm looking for? You're just like half in, half out, whatever. You're very like trance state. That's what I'm looking for. And all of a sudden, it was nothing because of the car, but I was like perked up more and I was like, is something happening? And then 5 seconds later, we turned the corner and there was an insane car crash.
Oh shit.
It wasn't a sound. It had like already happened. And I woke up and I was like, oh my God.
You
I
felt
literally
it.
like felt that there was like this weird thing happening like in a few seconds.
Yeah.
And it was like kind of gnarly. It was like a big semi truck and then like a regular like SUV truck that was like flipped upside down
Oh my
on the
God.
side of the road. And I was like, wow, that was crazy.
Whoa.
It's very interesting when you start like, you just like subtly perceive things before you actually see them and hear them. And that's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
It
You
is
can't plan it really.
about trusting those hits. Like you sent me that video of like the girl exposing the card and asking if you could see.
Did you get it?
I got green, but I didn't get the number.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I'm like really curious about, I got 3 and I was like,
But not green.
I don't know. I didn't hear the prompt about the color. So I
Oh.
didn't think about a color. I like didn't catch that part.
It's so weird
But-
because you sent it to me in the Instagram DMs, and before I could even read the caption, I looked at the card and I saw through it and like saw the
that's
green.
what I was. Yes, that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to sense behind the card,
Yeah.
and I just heard and saw like the 333. And when she flipped it, I was like,
Yeah.
I just don't know if, you know, those things where you don't know if there's some sort of just like psychology explanation. Because this is like what magicians do, is there is some trick to like psychology and knowing associations that people make and what they'll think of and the card they'll choose, like that type of thing that makes you think like, oh my God, they just guessed it
like
and they read
this,
your
like,
mind.
Think of a type of pie. Now take that last letter of that word, the type of pie, and think of a animal. You're thinking of an elephant.
No.
I saw this on TikTok the other day and was like, wait, literally, yes, I'm thinking of an elephant.
Well, that must have been if you thought of apple and then you did E, but I thought of blueberry.
Oh, wait, shit, I did the wrong thing. I said it wrong. I said it completely wrong.
But the point is, what you're getting to is there are like riddles or like magic tricks like this that play on
statistics of like what
Yeah,
people are
statistics.
thinking. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm curious if that video she made is like that, or if everyone in the comments is just very intuitive and is like tapped in. I don't
Yeah.
know. I want to believe like I just was able to sense it, but I'm also like, okay, there's like tricks like this where people like know how to plant certain things, and then it's like you think you got it.
Right. I mean, do you usually get the ones where people are like holding up crystals and then you have to guess the crystal? Or there's like so many of these online, I feel like.
I don't know. I honestly have not really ever done them other than that one.
Oh.
And I was like, whoa.
She's a
But then all the comments, most of the comments were like, I got green, but I didn't get 3. I got 3. And I'm like, how did okay. So I guess like either everyone is intuitive, cool,
Yeah.
or there's like a trick to this.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're just like trying to not make it real, but
It is interesting
Anyway.
to think about how your gifts start to come online. Like what you're tuning into is you're really good at predicting events and things that are going to occur. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other psychic gifts that you have. But for me, I'm like seeing the energy between people or the energy of a person. And now that I'm thinking about it, it's like you're a Capricorn, which is like more 3D earth focused. I'm wondering if like your psychic abilities are tuned to the energy of your system in a way where like
right.
I'm a Pisces and a Cancer moon. I'm like very much
Yeah.
in tune with the subtle frequencies of like emotion and more of the
Yes.
higher, I don't know, like the things that are vibrating at a higher frequency. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes, like things that haven't, maybe I'm tuned into the things that have already dropped into
The
form,
3D.
either through like a physical thing or like a thought. Like sometimes it's like ability to read minds, which I think you have
Right.
that too, where you literally know what they're like going to say.
Yes. Yes.
But yes,
I
I
also
think
have learned that there's a fine line with that, because it's like you have to really take the gift to the side, because our minds are also like meaning making machines, where we'll just take what someone says and filter it through our own subconscious beliefs and like make meaning out of it. That just validates our own identity. You get what I'm saying?
You're saying if you hear someone say something, that you'll just say that you knew you were going to say that they,
or like
were going to
the
say it?
meaning or the reason behind it, but really it's just you creating the meaning from your own identity. It's almost like you have to let the gift be untainted from the ego, which is like a general thing with all gifts. That's like the human design stuff
for
too.
sure. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah. But it's interesting what you're saying. I think I'm just thinking about the different psychic abilities you're alluding to and how they have to do with like our signs too. And because then one of actually in human design, my biggest gifts is the reading the room one, which is like, I think it lives in the spleen. I want to say that, or the root. I can't remember. But it's very, that one to me comes through more emotionally and like in the unseen, but I guess it's also happening through just like the psychology of when you can read human beings and like tell what they're thinking and feeling before they even say it, and like how that energy is affecting the room, which is definitely like the case. And I wonder if it just like there's different flavors of how that data hits you, right? Like between me and you, we're always able to read each other's energy, but I wonder if it's just like through the different almost like nodes in our chakras and our system that it's being processed as a different type of data.
Oh, you're saying based off of our gifts and like our energy types.
Yes.
Well, not energy type, like generator, projector energy type. I'm saying like the build of our body.
A combo of your, and a combo of like your astrology, like you're pointing out, like your earth sign or your more water, air, whatever, where that is like your filter system on how you receive the data.
Yes. But it is interesting too, because you could be picking up energy and then creating a different story around. I think sometimes you'll hear people be like, "Oh, I'm so psychic. I know what that person's thinking," and then you'll hear about what they're saying, and they're like, "No, that person was never out to get you or to make you feel bad." Like maybe
okay,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
It's like,
well, this is where, what you're pointing out exactly, because this is why, when this is like where there's room for like projection or the assumption.
Yes.
So this is why like part of psychic development is the like inner work and like the healing work and like the cleaning up of the consciousness, because then you can process something differently and you're like, no, it's intuitive, but it's not. It's like you're saying, it's being filtered through your, I guess what you're calling like either the ego or whatever your like psyche has in there. I think the good test is when both people pick up on the same thing. It's not always, but it's a pretty good way to tell, like between two friends pick up the same, unless it's the same energy through the same belief. But I feel like it's good when you know that each person has their own, everyone's unique, right? So it's like more likely that you'll pick up on, it'll be a good test if two people read the same thing. But this is why you're always checking yourself for like ego or projection,
right?
Or if something is coming through as just like, oh, this is just how I perceive life, so I'm placing it onto this person.
Or if it's charged, I feel like that's a good test. Like, if there's judgment or a charge behind what you're picking up, then it most likely, like the information may even be accurate, but if it's filtered through the subconscious perception or identity, and it has like a charge of either like judgment or even fear, honestly.
Yeah.
It's just an opportunity to check in with what you're believing that means about either you or the person.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's a really good point.
Yes.
Yeah. If it has a charge. Because I think the yeah, as you say that, I'm reflecting, because in my own experience, it's like the purest like psychic hits or energy readings that have happened, even if I'm observing something that's like, oh, this person holds a lot of anger, it's not, I don't feel anything about it.
Right,
It's
it's
just
neutral.
like a thing that I'm right. It's very neutral. I think because then it's beautiful, because this is where there's room where you notice that there is a charge, and then you're like, oh, okay, maybe this is true, but also there is like a flavor here that could be where I'm not seeing it so clearly. And then, yeah, that's exactly it, is when there's like an additional charge to it. Cause I think that's where
the opportunity for healing comes in. I feel like on your part personally, cause I'm even reflecting with like certain relationships or family where you're like, I know what they're thinking. And then you look at the situation and you're like, wow, I was literally just choosing to see them through this lens.
Right.
That just validates my own beliefs of them, that validates my own identity. And there's so many layers to it where taking a minute to reflect on the charge allows that to neutralize, and then you can just see it as it is. And that's also energetic protection, because if you're feeling like you're psychic and you're in tune with people's energy, but yet you're picking up their energy because you're maybe leaning in and judging or shaming, you're literally taking on that energy as yours. And this is just, honestly, could be a whole other episode of us talking about like protecting your energy comes from knowing yourself, so that when you get those hits, they're neutral. It's like almost a Zen way of seeing it. And this is also the basics of being able to know your intuition versus ego. Is the ego usually has a charge behind like what it's sharing, and there's like a story. The intuitive hits are usually, I shouldn't say there's no feeling, because for me as an emotional and human design, there's definitely excitement and like an arousal that
or it
happens.
can be like fiery. Yeah. But it's just like,
there's
it's
a
different.
difference.
This is really, really amazing what you're pointing out, because this is the subtle difference between like what was coming through as you're saying that too, is like, this is why the nervous system work is so important. And if you're ever doing, like when I do energy readings on people in sessions, like you have to get yourself into a regulated state and be
and set the
breathing
container
and meditating, and then open the channel, because that's when then you can get any information, and it's not going to have a charge on you because you've brought yourself to a regulated state. So that's why then it can come through fiery, it can come through whatever, but it's like, it's always about that additional thing that is or is not on top of it. And that is what tells you where it's coming from. And it's actually like, it's like I want to call it like a trope in a way of the spiritual process or the awakening, when you can think you're getting these like psychic insights, but you're really just not protecting your energy, and you're like meddling into the drama of other people, especially when it's causing a charge in you. And then it's just an excuse to like judge or to project and to name it as psychic ability. And it's like, maybe there's a little bit of both happening, but that's why there's always the invitation to like keep the vessel clean and like notice those stories that are coming up, like you're saying.
And then you get to choose like when you turn it on or off, because who you are is no longer dependent on like properly doing that thing or having that psychic ability, you know? But yeah, let's definitely like talk about this more. Psychic abilities, I feel like could be a fun episode for us to do. Yeah. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that, because I want to save that. That's definitely a very powerful conversation to have.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. This was very, very interesting. And like, I think now we're realizing we have a lot to share on this.
For sure.
I'm down. Okay. Well, this was beautiful. Anything else to add? Or I like that we fully sent it and we did a longer one, because there's homies out there that just want to throw
a long
the
car
gals
ride.
on, long car ride, Friday night, listening on, like watching on YouTube, and you just want to hang out with us. So we got you. I didn't do my accents.
Here
That's
for the
fine.
vibes.
We're just psychoanalyzing them. That's fine. Next time.
Holy crap. It's already 1:30. I didn't even realize.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us, for listening. We love you so much. We are happy that you are here. And don't forget to always check in the show notes for all the latest and greatest of what's going on Planet Ohm, whether it's our membership or our workshops that we're hosting, programs we might be doing, etc. So check it out. We
Wink,
love you
wink.
so much. Wink, wink. And engage with us. Comment on YouTube or on Spotify. Send us a DM. We want to hang out with you because we're obsessed. Okay.